In the wake of a crime, police use several different tactics to get as much information as possible and narrow down the pool of suspects. One of the tools is the use of a forensic sketch artist. You may have seen one of these black and white portraits on your local news or on outlets like America's Most Wanted. But have you ever wondered how these artists create such an accurate depiction of someone's rough descriptions? Lois Gibson has mastered the trade. She's been a police sketch artist in Texas since 1982 and often works with the Houston Police Department on crimes that require her expertise. She also travels to other stations across the country to aid investigations on a case-by-case basis. Over the years, her work has led to the identification of more than 750 people. But how exactly does she do it? Gibson says that in order to excel in this niche field, you must be more than a talented artist. You first have to be able to quickly reassure a hesitant subject.
First of all, everybody says, I can't remember. 100% of the witnesses. If a detective listens to witnesses, they will never do a sketch. 100% of the sketches I've done that caught the people were done for somebody in the beginning that said, I didn't really see it well enough to do a sketch. I don't know why I'm here. They rejected the act of doing a sketch.
Because of this hesitation, Gibson always spends some time speaking with the subject prior to starting to sketch. She's a warm and comforting presence in the room and helps people let go of any doubts and trust the process.
If you get somebody relaxed enough, they can remember stuff from when they were 6 or 7 or 8. You just have to get people very, very relaxed, make them feel safe, make them feel like it's over. The bad part's over. Now we're going to go after the person. And it's like whatever's bothering them, you let them vent if they want to vent, cry. And the holy grail of a great interview is to get the witness to laugh.
Once the subject is more at ease, Gibson is ready to get started on the sketch. She draws, starting from the top of the head, going down, focusing one by one on each element of the face. The interviewee is given a witness guidebook filled with hundreds of different facial features. This manual better jogs their memory and helps to bridge a connection between what they remember and what they're trying to communicate to the artist.
Everybody in the world uses the Samantha Steinberg Facial Identification Catalog. I used to use an FBI one, but the point is, this catalog is about as big as a magazine, and it's got a bunch of eyes, eyebrows, noses, lips, chins, etc. And even if they can't talk or they speak a different language, they look through, say, the eyes, and they say, oh, it's B112 eyes. And you look up those eyes in your catalog and draw them and go on to noses, lips, etc., and you compose it in good proportion, facial proportions. In other words, where the nose ends, the lips come on pretty quick. The lips aren't down there 6 inches below the nose. You know what I mean. You could do proportions yourself. Everybody knows what good proportions are. So you take the pieces, you look above a catalog, so you draw from pictures of features in a catalog, and then when you get it composed, I draw it without them looking at it so I can just compose the face. And then when I think I've got it kind of there, I say, okay, I'm going to show this to you. I'll change anything you want, any way you want me to change it, and then we'll be done.
Once the initial draft is finished, Gibson goes through any adjustments with the person until it's just right. Unlike some police sketch artists who just draw the face, Gibson always includes a neck and the top of the shoulders.
When you do the neck, you have to be very, very accurate because there's all different shapes of necks. And so I'll have the witness help me do that. And I just do the whole face. And a lot of the Eastern Coast, the New York artists, they don't even put clothes. They don't put a neck. Well, shoot, you get a body type out of the neck. You can get like a fat person or a thin. And then I have several where they have the same clothing. Men dress the same. Once they get about 21, they dress samey. They'll wear the same outfit. So I've had the clothing help.
With the pandemic, we were also curious if Gibson had sketched any criminals with face masks on. However, she hasn't run into that curveball yet. but she has had a lot of experience drawing portraits with little to go off of.
You'll get a guy and he's wearing a hat and sunglasses. And you go, holy cow, I've got nothing here. But I've helped catch several like that. You just have to be really accurate about the lips and the chin, whatever you can see. And then it's weird, people recognize that hat. Like if the hat says skull or caterpillar or whatever it is, I'm going to put those graphics on that hat for sure.
Gibson also says that face or neck tattoos are sometimes so unique that they can be a dead giveaway.
My very, very favorite is facial tattoos and neck tattoos. I love when they do that. It's just wonderful. Makes my life so happy. And I want all the crooks to keep doing that.
When a crook does get caught, Gibson says that it can be illuminating to compare the portrait with the person's real face and see where she may have gone wrong. She remembers a case in 2018 where she missed one key element of the face. Yet when the murderer saw the portrait on TV, he thought differently.
The sketch was so good that the murderer goes home and sees himself on the, when he saw the sketch and turned himself in, and I completely missed his eyebrows. This murderer had great looking eyebrows. His eyebrows looked like Elizabeth Taylor, but I completely missed him, but who cares? He turned himself in.
So roughly how long does it take to sketch an accurate portrait, start to finish? Gibson estimates that each black and white composite requires about an hour to complete, but more extensive color portraits can take 5 times as long. Why? Color requires much more detail and thought in order to get the correct undertones and shades in the skin and features. Because time is of the essence after a crime, she typically sketches criminal portraits in black and white. But when doing a victim or age progression portrait where she has more leeway, she switches to color. Gibson says that facial reconstruction sketches of victims where she has just a skull to go off of can be a lengthy process. She first starts by tracing the basic outline of the face and features relative to the parameters of the bone.
I just look at the skull and I can see what's going on, especially from the front view. I completely reject doing a profile because I think you get way less than 1/4 as much information on a profile unless they had a ponytail. And a lot of times you don't have hair with the skull. How do you know if they had a ponytail? So anyway, I just do them from the front, and you follow the landmarks. And there's only just a small amount of tissue under the chin, so you follow the mandible. And if they found the girl in like small clothes, then you know she wasn't overweight, so you just follow under the bony mandible. And honestly, I just have great facility with that because there's landmarks. And unlike a live witness you got to do it 1 hour right then with them. But facial reconstruction on a skull, you can look at it and then go to bed and get up and look at it again and just kind of think about it, and then the next day. So I've had really great success, really great with facial reconstruction.
Gibson has also successfully reunited people through her age progression portraits. One case that she always remembers is that of 2 baby boys who were separated from their older sister during adoption.
I did the most far-ranging age progression. I had 1- and 2-year-old little boys. There was pictures, formal studio pictures. And this girl lived near me, and she called the FBI and said, I want to age progress my baby brothers. I want to reunite with them because they were taken away and adopted away from her. And they didn't ask a 4-year-old, do you want to know where your brothers are going to go? So she grows up, and she's in her 30s, and she wants to find her brothers, Chip and Chris. So the FBI said, hey, are you near Lois? And she was. She called me.
Gibson's accurate portraits of the 2 boys as adults led to the reunion of all 3 siblings decades later. It's stories like these that keep her going despite the thousands of cases she's worked on that remain unsolved. It's a tough field to be in when the cycle is unending and so many victims and families never get justice or closure. Especially when there are so few forensic artists doing what she does. Not every police department employs this position, and many go without the resource entirely. Gibson says that there's only a small handful of people in the U.S. that make a living as full-time forensic artists.
There's a dearth of forensic artists. There's almost none. I mean, it's statistically insignificant how many artists work cases. May as well not even be there. There's this attitude of, oh, it's not going to be perfect. Well, your investigation is never perfect.
Today, Gibson is still a practicing forensic artist in Houston and is a teacher to others interested in the trade. You can find out more about our guest, Lois Gibson, by visiting her site at loisgibson.com. You can also find more links and archives to past shows at viewpointsradio.org. For more behind the scenes, search Viewpoints Radio on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. This segment was written and produced by Amira Zaveri. I'm Gary Price. Coming up on Viewpoints.
If you go back a decade, the thought that you could get something delivered to your doorstep in a day or two after you ordered it was pretty much unthinkable.
Exploring the competitive e-commerce space. Then,
she would flutter her fan according to the Morse code dots and dashes. If one of her spies was watching, they would be able to read the Morse code dot and dashes that she was doing with her fan.
Uncovering the stories of fearless women on both sides of the fight during the Civil War. I'm Marty Peterson.
And I'm Gary Price. These stories in depth on your public affairs magazine, Viewpoints.
And that's Viewpoints for this week. Viewpoints is a production of MediaTrax Communications. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to learn more about upcoming shows. And find a library of past programs on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify. Plus, you'll always find previous segments and more information about our guests at viewpointsradio.org. Join us again next week for another edition of Viewpoints.